What's up, folks? Welcome to another episode of Sights for Sore Eyes. Today we're going to be visiting one of my favorite cities, St. Louis, Missouri. I really enjoy this city for a number of reasons. Number one, its history. It's got a lot of good, rich history, and it's always fun to explore. Number two, lots of fun things to do. There's fun things like the City Museum. Of course, there's the Arch. There's professional sports. It's got a lot of stuff to do. My favorite thing about St. Louis is its architecture. It has great historical houses that are just beautiful. And speaking of architecture, today we're going to be talking about the water towers. Coming up on this episode of Sights for Sore Eyes. When you think of water towers, you're probably thinking of something like this, or maybe like this. That's not the kind of water tower we're talking about today. Today, we're talking about late 19th century standpipes, the predecessor to the modern water tower. At one time, there were hundreds of these technological wonders spread around the country. The water towers that you see today would be considered ugly, unfinished, unsightly.
I am most seriously displeased. Drive on!
Back in the late 19th century, things were made to be beautiful and functional. And that's exactly the idea behind the water towers that we'll be looking at today. First, there's the Grand Water Tower. The Grand Water Tower is located at 20th Street and Grand. It stands at 154 feet tall and was completed in 1871. It was decommissioned in 1912. In 1933, residents protested its demolition, and just recently, it was given a fresh coat of paint and a little bit of a touch-up. Next on the list is just blocks away from the Grand Water Tower, and that is the Bissell Street Water Tower. The Bissell Street Water Tower was built in 1885. It's also known as the Red Tower. It was designed to resemble a Moorish minaret. It stands at 206 feet tall and is located at the intersection of Blair Avenue and Bissell Street in the Hyde Park Historic District. It was renovated in 1913. Demolition attempts were halted in 1958. Lastly is the Compton Hill Water Tower. It was the last water tower to be built. It's located in the Compton Hill Reservoir Park at Grand and Russell Avenues. It stands at 179 feet tall and was designed by Harvey Ellis for George R. Mann Architectural Firm in 1897. It was decommissioned in 1929, and it had a $19 million restoration in 1999. Although the inside is closed today, you could, and perhaps one day again you will, be able to tour the inside, as this newsman had the lucky chance to do here.
So my guess is you want to see inside. Well, so did I. So John took me up the spiral staircase to the top. It's 179 feet tall. How many steps is that? Well, it's a lot. It's a good thing my knees can't talk. On the way up, pictures documenting the tower's construction.
There you can see the two tanks. It has a wall down the center.
And when we got to the top, it was well worth the climb.
It's really about the best view of the city available.
A really cool bird's eye view.
What you see here used to be the dam that held the water in there. And it's divided in two, so there was two lakes in there, basically.
Now it's those two round tanks that hold 27 million gallons of water.
It's midnight and demand is low, but your pump is running full wide open. Instead of water flowing to customers, it's flowing into your water tower, filling the tank slowly but surely. As morning comes and demand starts to increase, your pump continues running. It's not able to meet the demand on its own, but the stored water in the tank is making up the difference. All your customers are getting the water they need. As people start their day, demand again drops below average, but the pump keeps running and the extra flow goes into the tank. Demand again begins to spike as residents of the city start cooking dinner, taking baths, and watering the plants. All this extra water use drains the tank again before most people go to bed and the cycle starts again. Without a firefighting force and enough water to supply them, fires can burn out of control in dense urban areas. In fact, many of the deadliest disasters in history were fires in cities before modern water systems. Now most municipalities and building codes have minimum requirements for the amount of water that must be available to firefighters. And having water stored and ready, like in a water tower, goes a long way to being able to respond to an emergency. But water towers aren't just big tanks. They're big tanks elevated above the ground. And that's because water towers aren't just storing water, they're also storing energy. Water distribution systems rely on pressure to get water where it's going. If you've ever taken a shower with low water pressure, you know how frustrating it can be, because you can't get enough water out of the tap. Pressurizing a water system is also important for public health. Without enough pressure in the pipes, contaminants could make their way into the system through taps or small leaks. But with public water supplies, reliability is key, and it's been a long time since gravity was knocked offline from a thunderstorm, so elevated storage tanks, in some form or fashion, are definitely here to stay.
There are supposedly 7 historic standpipe water towers in existence in the United States remaining. One of those is the Louisville Water Tower in Louisville, Kentucky, built in 1860 at 183 feet.
What is this behind
Sure.
us?
So this is the historic Louisville Water Tower. It's the oldest standing water tower of its kind in the United States. And the water tower and the building behind it have been here since 1860. We started with a pump station, a water tower, and a reservoir to deliver water. Today, these are National Historic Landmarks, and so they're really important to the city's history.
This is pretty different.
It is.
Now, we've seen those water towers, Florence Y'all, and those things, and they
There's
look
no logo
pretty
on
much.
this one.
Totally different style than what this thing is.
So this is not a traditional water tower. It doesn't hold water. Inside the tower is actually a pipe, and the only purpose for this tower was to make sure the steam engines that were inside the white building didn't implode as we were pulling water from the Ohio River. So it didn't store water. It was really a surge protector more than anything else. So the original water tower had statues on it. There was a tornado that came through here in 1890, snapped the water tower at the base. Everything was snapped it at the base. Pictures are pretty cool.
That is a big tornado.
That is a big tornado. Yeah. We lost all of the original statues except for 2. We don't know what happened to those 2. They're probably in someone's basement, I would guess. So we replaced the statues that you see today with 9 Greek and Roman gods and goddesses and an Indian hunter and a dog. The old annual reports tried to paint a very glowing picture of why we chose the Indian hunter and a dog. In essence, it's always a connection. Somebody knows somebody who has a connection. The water company didn't have a lot of money in 1890 after the tornado, so somebody knew someone with a garden ornamental company and said, hey, I've got 9 Greek and Roman gods and goddesses, an Indian hunter and his dog, statues. I'll give them to you for $1,000, throw them on the water tower, and we said, hey, that's a great deal.
North Point Water Tower in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, was built in 1871. It houses 4-inch wide, 120-foot tall standpipe.
Chicago Water Tower was built in 1869 and is the second oldest in the United States. It was designed by William W. Boyington in the Gothic Revival architectural style. During the late 1800s, it was becoming more and more of a challenge to get clean water to the citizens of Chicago, since water near the lakeshore was polluted due to the runoff from the river, which had not yet been reversed. A 2-mile tunnel system was built to bring in cleaner water from Lake Michigan. You may have heard that the Chicago Water Tower was the only building in the city to survive the Great Fire of 1871. Well, this is a myth, but it did become the most famous building to remain standing and was a symbol for the rebuilding of Chicago in the following years. Did you know that Frank Troutman, a Chicago firefighter, saved the water tower from destruction? During the fire, he covered the water tower with canvas and blankets and kept them soaked with water. In the many years that followed, the water tower has remained a symbol of Chicago, though it has had its fair share of opponents. Oscar Wilde infamously referred to it as a castellated monstrosity. It was also threatened with destruction when the city wanted to widen Michigan Avenue, but luckily for us, preservationists stepped up to save this beloved landmark. Today, you can visit both the water tower and the water pumping station, both for free.
There is a 7th standpipe water tower, and it is in New York. However, I had a very difficult time finding specifically which tower it is. From my findings, my best guess is that it is the High Bridge Water Tower, built in 1872 and standing at 200 feet tall, built in the Romanesque style.
That's the end?
But wait! There's more!
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video and click notifications bell. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my main channel, Sights with Sore Eyes. Till next time.